Good morning. I hope everybody that listens is keeping well. Wanted to share some stuff, but I have to stress that I'm not a specialist in anything. I'm not trying to convince you or change your mind or sell you anything. All right. A while back, I was listening to this doctor, and I often go back to this because it is important. I was listening to this doctor, and he said obsessive compulsive behavior is registered as a mental disorder. And I never checked. I don't need to check. All I have to do is observe what's going on around me. Are people obsessed? Are people compulsive? Yes. And is this making the world a better place? No. Is this good for people? No. And I've learned that it's better not to interfere. They love what's going on. So it's better not to interfere. Let them. You would, eventually have to interfere if they are threatening you, if they are threatening your existence with their insanity. We have to make a stand at some point. You have to choose a hill in which you're going to perish, that you have to defend and eventually perish. I don't buy the epigenetic stuff. I think humans are a blank sheet. We are almost like angels when we arrive at this world. And I think this is like immediately after conception. In the first weeks, first months, we are human already. And that blank sheet starts getting printed even when we are in uterus. We are tasting emotions through the fluid. You are being exposed to your parents' emotions, and you are being exposed and you're being printed. So, well, a thing that gets printed in people is this obsessive behavior. For instance, this culture that I am living, and probably you are too, is obsessed with numbers. They are obsessed with objects. They're obsessed with the acquisition of these objects. And once they have them in their hands, they lose importance. And they go for the next one and the next one. And it's never enough. It's their reason to live is to get to these things. And most people don't even know why they are doing it. Society, this society, not so long ago, was a society of producers, a society of innovation. It had creativity. You need creativity to produce things that people will fight to acquire, right? But this didn't last long. This abundance of products and objects that flooded people's lives made fortunes. The result was huge, huge fortunes. And some, instead of producing, they said, you know what, I'm just going to invest what I've gained. So I'm going to sit back and relax or focus in some other obsession, and I'll invest. And with this money, I will make more money. So the scales started dipping from a producer society. It was based on the extraction of minerals and metals and the processing of these into objects. And and farming, of course, because we need to eat. We used to be a society that produced tons and tons of food. From a processing society, became an investor society because there was an abundance of money, and money is an object, right? And people are obsessed with it. And the more money you have, the more people you can control. From a producer society, little by little, it became an investor society. Everybody now invests. I never invested in anything. Well, not in with money and stuff. No, my investments was I will buy some land, I will buy some chickens because I like fresh eggs. That sort of. I don't know if you could call it an investment, but I was saying investment in the sense making money, using money to make money, and yeah, I never invested, and I also never bought credit. I never bought anything, credit. That's just crazy. I never understood why people would, you know, do that. Uh, that's indented servitude, actually. People critique, they put down, they go into, convulsions. Just the thought of indented servitude that happened in the past, but they are doing it still now. I just don't get it. Getting, buying stuff using, credit is indented servitude. You'll be forever, for the rest of your life. And people get addicted to that. They get one, two, three, and but anyway, from a producer society, it became an investor society, and people started, analogously speaking, they started investing, for instance, in a tree, and then they just lay down waiting for the fruit to ripe, and then they collect the fruit without doing any work. And with that money that they uh, that resulted, from the investment, they could, you know, pay for their lifestyle. But at some point, everybody started doing the same. From a producer society became an investor society. An investment, if you look at it, an investment has no soul at all, because the goal of the investment is make a profit. They could care less if it harms. There's no, let me have a sip of coffee. There's no moral compass in an investment. People don't care. They just want results. There's no moral compass. There's no ethics. There's no wisdom. All they want is a profit. So this mentality gave birth to lots of aberrations, like the needlecraft. The needlecraft is a result of investing. It makes money, so it always has investors. It's based on superstitions and fear, which is perfect. There is always going to be someone scared. There's always going to be someone very, very suggestible to superstitions and fear. Fear is the worst enemy. So, when you have investors that put all their money in some stuff, but then comes along a group of people that is more human, and they say, hey, what you're doing is wrong, is causing so much harm. And they start whistleblowing, and they start writing books and trying to use the media, social media, etc., to kind of warn people about the dangers of that product. a sort of inquisition is immediately created. This inquisition has a task of protecting the investment. This is very, very old. It's not nothing new. There's nothing new. Who is the Inquisition? You know, during that process in which the pagan Roman Empire collapsed, and then there was this reimagining of the empire through the Abrahamic faiths. And in the beginning, the Abrahamic faiths was put down because it wasn't popular yet. So everybody put them down, right? Once it became popular, all the rich and powerful started using it. Once it became popular, everybody wanted to be as well part of this delusion because it was popular and it was bringing again um, a revenue. It was bringing their investments into fruition. Religion, you know, re re what's the expression? It brings people together under a dogma. It reunifies people. Yes, when we have a population that's reunified under a dogma, you can have more control over them. For instance, it is sort of it's excellent for an army. It's excellent for someone who works from sun to sun, sunrise to sundown. They have to have something keeping their mind like a rat in the wheel, keeping their mind. Uh, um, so it was excellent to manipulate people. That's why it was adopted, and it was very successful in the beginning. And when it became successful, the usual suspects they change boat because that's what happens. They saw the boat of paganism going down, and then they saw this other opportunity that will encapsulate people's imagination, that would turn them into machines, into slaves. They switch ships. You can see this happening even right now with the tariffs. In the beginning, everybody condemns the tariffs, but after that, they switch. They switch boat. You know, because it's for the for the investment. That's where the money is, and everybody just switches boat. So what was put down and discredited and made fun of became popular, and everybody just switched to the other boat, the usual suspects, and to protect this new investment called Catholicism or Christianity or whatever you want to call it, an inquisition is formed. You see, there were other people, pagans, there were others who were more Jewish or more Muslim, there were others around. But this thing that was popular gave in the beginning to sweeten, to ease, to grease the wheels, to sweeten the product. They kind of gave privileges to people. Anyone who became part of it had a cut in taxes, maybe. They had privileges, better access to things, was better treated. So everybody, to grease the wheels, to switch boat, you know, to ease the process, everybody was like, okay, I want to be Catholic too. Even though I'm Jewish or Muslim or pagan, I'm going to pretend that I am so that I have access to the privilege. This is very common. But then they noticed that these people were just faking, and in secret, in the privacy of their homes, was they were still practicing their previous culture. So they created this thing called an inquisition, that is a group of experts that's going to act like a police. They have special powers, and they will investigate, torture, use coercion, any method necessary to to find out if they are indeed part of the system or not, if they are not just using it to fill their pockets. and just enjoying privilege. So that's where the idea of an inquisition comes from. And the Inquisition only persecuted people who pretended to be Catholic. They didn't specifically pretend that the one was honest. The one who was honest, they didn't care. Honest people would not get privilege. It's pretty simple. They will only persecute those who have lied to get access to privilege. To this day, there's people in the United States that still claim that they are Indian descendant and they are Caucasian, because at some point the government wanted also to help out the indigenous, and there's always grifters who jump on the boat and say, "Oh, I also have, blood in me," and they are Caucasian. It's pretty funny. Yeah, sip of coffee. So anyway, right now we have all sorts of inquisition as well, and these inquisitions are for the purpose of protecting the investments as well. For instance, in the Smaxonation in the Jews, did you know the Order of Doctors was invented after the Second World War to police these situations, actually? Yes, the Order of Doctors is like an inquisition. They will police the experts. They are a bunch of experts that will police the doctors themselves. So there's an inquisition that protects the investments in needlecraft, for instance, experts. And if they find, doctors, people who speak, they will, try to discredit them. If it's a doctor, they will remove their working permit, and shame him forever, expel them. And this is all for the purpose of protecting the investment. All right. Because society in the West is a society of investors. It's no longer a society of producers. At some point they saw that it was more beneficial to put the factories abroad. And so they did it. But then the population, the working classes, they were out of a job. And they were like, what are we going to do now? You destroyed our lives. But then the governments and other institutions came along and said, oh, the problem is not us, the problem is you. You're not educated enough. And then in this past 30 years, the West has been obsessed with university. Everybody wants to go to university. And universities like it. It makes a good profit for them. So what happens is eventually they have to lower the standards because not everybody is cut to become an universitarian, such as myself. I could never be an universitarian. Um, and they had to lower, difficulty, lower the expectations, and also create, other courses around social stuff and useless things. Eventually, the population at the end of their university, they have their certificate, diploma, etc., but they don't have a job. But they made everybody rich, involved in that. So the ones who have courage, they end up, working, in the local fast food, to pay up their loans and stuff. But others, will might migrate, be tempted to migrate and become, language professors because they have a university diploma. They can teach languages and stuff, their mother tongue. There's tons and tons of, British that, for instance, are going towards Asia and teaching English. That they probably never, thought of becoming a teacher, but it's a way to survive, I would say. But then, um, I forgot where I was. Um, yeah, they started saying, "No, it's your fault. You need more education." And now all of these universitarians are getting, not getting a job, and even if they find a job, economy is trashed because even if you have a good salary on your own, you can't have a house, you can't have a family, you know, because from a producer society it became an investor society. The investments are abroad, and it's creating opportunities abroad, not here. They are gaslighting you. Of course they are. They're just protecting their investments. So, right here in this part of the world, they are gaslighting you about that. They also are, injecting identity politics just to mud the waters. Marxism, this idea that overpopulation, the idea, of climate change, this is just, you know, to bamboozle the new generations. It's just to bamboozle. You are not wanted. You are a stain. You are, a bad thing to the world. So don't reproduce. Don't get married. The message is quite clear because they don't need workers anymore. The establishments, has slaves in the other side of the world. They don't need you anymore. So they switch the script. You know, they flipped the script some 30 years ago, or 40, even 40 years ago. That's when crisis, the word crisis, start being used more often. Some 40 years ago, you can hear the word crisis everywhere. This is, again, they are telling these generations, you are obsolete. We're going to, we don't need you because our investments are abroad. We're going to, you know, mechanize everything, so you're pointless. And they give the masses all these weird ontologies about oblivion, about spiritual suicide, about annihilation. And because their investments is elsewhere. And anyway, I was a bit all over the place. I hope it was understandable. So tell me what you guys think, and have a nice day.